Burrow had an MVP performance.
Lamar Jackson is such a special player. I'll be watching the Lamar show.
Best football player? Yeah, probably so.
We are Unsportsmanlike here on ESPN Radio. ESPN. And he does show up to the voluntary workouts. There is no contract extension done yet. And one of his former teammates, Kyle Van Noy, had an interesting comment about him when he was asked about whether or not there was pressure on him. And he's saying, no, there's no pressure on Lamar to win a Super Bowl. I am getting such a side eye from one Chris Canty. Go ahead.
Okay.
You want me to read the full quote or no?
No pressure on Lamar Jackson to win a Super Bowl. Can we start with Lamar Jackson just getting to a Super Bowl? I mean, I just show me the profile of any other quarterback in the history of the NFL that has 3 first-team all-pros and 2 MVPs before the age of 30, and we're not talking about them playing in the big game.
All right, so let me read the full thing. Okay,
doesn't exist.
Exactly.
Can I ask why y'all trying this narrative with the pressure on Lamar when he already won the pressure argument? Y'all started off his career by saying that he should play wide receiver or running back. He said, watch this, and won an MVP, not just once, but 2 times, should have been 3 times. That's for another day. This is Kyle Van Noy. If he never plays it down again, he's literally a Hall of Famer. He's the most influential football player, like AI is to basketball. Allen Iverson, of course. And he literally changed the way people take QBs in this league. So get out of here with the pressure winning a Super Bowl. That's just a cherry on top. People have no idea how hard it is to win the championship and talk about it like it's so easy. Would it be nice for him to win the Super Bowl? Duh. You could argue the same thing for Josh Allen winning, and he's Hall of Fame worthy as well. Lamar and his mom won the moment. He won an MVP, and he proved he could play QB at a high level. If you don't think that's a fact, go look back at the garbage experts that were saying during this draft process what he was going to be. He was picked 32 by a team, by the way, that doesn't scream, be our QB of the future. Now, that's the quote from Kyle Van Noy. We all make mistakes like this in terms of, what is it, something arguments? What is that word?
Conflating
arguments, right? We do that all the time. All of us, we talk so much, whatever. He's conflating arguments here, in my opinion. That's like saying it doesn't matter if Tiger catches up to Jack because look at the way he changed the game. We know he changed the game. That's more important than the on-field stuff. Lamar did change the game. I think the cultural impact, like Allen Iverson, is a very interesting comp. I think the way that quarterbacks are playing the game, the same way they did forever, but they weren't taken in the NFL. You and I, CC, grew up watching football with Tony Rice at Notre Dame and Major Harris at West Virginia. Mm-hmm. They would never even think of those guys playing quarterback in the NFL. Nope. And now, thankfully, they do. The dual threat quarterback that can also be a great pass. Charlie Ward, right, was never really given a chance. That's factual with Lamar. Game changer. But he's so good that winning becomes the next step in his Hall of Fame career. Van Noy is right. He is a first ballot Hall of Famer already, or should be. The voting is screwed up by the same person, I think, who thought he should play wide receiver. Just throwing that out there.
Okay, well, again, we're conflating arguments.
Yes, we are.
That is a completely separate argument. Here's what I think is getting lost in this, and you touched on it, Evan, but I think it is worth emphasizing. When we talk about the pressure on Lamar Jackson to win a Super Bowl, that is a sign of respect. He is so excellent at what he does that we put him in this category that this thing that you haven't achieved is the ultimate sign of your success. When we talk about Tom Brady as the GOAT, we don't talk about MVPs. We don't talk about various metrics.
I actually don't even know how many he's won.
And you're the biggest Tom Brady fan sitting here on this side.
Off the top of my head, I don't even know.
We always talk about the championships. We talk about 7.
Well, he's got 3 first-team All-Pros, so I assume he's got 3 MVPs.
I didn't even know that. I know 7 is what I know.
We talk about
6 plus 1.
We put Mahomes in the conversation with Tom Brady, and as I've called him, the GOAT in waiting, because of the Super Bowl championships. We don't talk about MVPs. We don't talk about various metrics. It's all about the rings. And Lamar is so talented, he should be in that conversation. He has earned his right into that conversation. And I think the reason we talk about pressure is because we don't want him to be a Dan Marino case study. We don't want to look at Lamar Jackson and say, this is one of the most elite football players we have ever laid eyes on. And what a shame that he never won a Super Bowl, because it validates you in a different way when you win a championship.
That's the key word, is validation. That's what it comes down to. Like all of these all-time greats, how great were you? Did you get to the championship rounds? Were you able to win it? That's why the Inside the NBA crew always gives Charles Barkley hell, because Charles Barkley during his era was one of the best players alive, but he didn't win a championship. Now, he ran into those Jordan teams, as did a lot of all-time greats. But I guess that's the question that we have to ask with Lamar, and that's why we had a lot of focus on what he was going to be capable of doing this year, right? With all of the injuries to the star players and teams that are perennial contenders not necessarily being on the board in terms of being in the playoff picture, it felt like it was teed up for Lamar Jackson and the Ravens to take control of the AFC and finally get there. It didn't happen. And so we're sitting here in this gray area with Lamar and with the Baltimore Ravens organization, and we're trying to figure out, is the reason why Lamar hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl the Baltimore Ravens, or is it some kind of character flaw in a guy that's won 2 MVPs and will be a walk-in for the Hall of Fame 5 years after he's done playing? We're trying to figure out why this all-time great player, all-time great talent in Lamar Jackson hasn't gotten to the championship rounds more consistently, hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl.
What do you think the reason is?
Well, the Baltimore Ravens told us they think the reason is the coach.
Who has won a Super Bowl.
Who has won a Super Bowl with another first-round draft pick in Joe Flacco. They got rid of John Harbaugh, who shortly thereafter signed a $100 million contract to become the New York Giants head coach. They hired Jesse Minter. They brought in a new offensive coordinator, Declan Doyle, from the Chicago Bears. We'll see what ends up happening. But if we have a new head coach and yet again another play caller in Baltimore, and this team doesn't get to where we think Lamar Jackson's talent should get him, then all of a sudden we're going to start looking at Lamar Jackson.
And then
we have been looking at Lamar Jackson, but it becomes even more critical because Lamar Jackson won the power struggle in the versus between him and John Harbaugh. There was tension in their working relationship last year. The organization sided with Lamar. They moved on from him. The organization has talked about wanting to pay Lamar Jackson. I guess it all boils down to this, y'all. When you listen to Kyle Van Noy's comments and he holds up the MVPs as a defense for Lamar Jackson, that argument actually works against Lamar because we look at all the other guys that have won multiple MVPs. We look at all the other guys that have 3 first-team All-Pro nods or more and know that all of those guys got to the Super Bowl, and most of them won it. So the question is, why the hell can't Lamar Jackson?
So play it out. Let's say this year goes the way that every other year has gone for Lamar Jackson, which means he either wins the MVP, assuming he's healthy, wins the MVP or is in the MVP discussion, and they don't go to the Super Bowl.
Can Lamar Jackson, let me ask you this question. I hate to answer a question with a question. And I know that the postseason shouldn't matter when it comes to regular season awards accolades. Can Lamar Jackson win another MVP and not get to the Super Bowl? Is that like
you're saying it works against him?
Yeah, is that possible? Like, can he win another? Because if he wins another MVP, then you're talking about 4 first-team All-Pro nods and 3 MVPs. Like that's rare. That would be more first-team All-Pros than Tom Brady and Brett Favre and Joe Montana. Can he win another MVP and not get to the Super Bowl? I'm just asking a question.
But the fact that you just put him in that company, that's why we have the pressure on him. Think about the names that you just mentioned that he is keeping company with.
So
the only people that would have as many All-Pros if he got another MVP, the only people that would have as many, Peyton Manning and Aaron Rodgers.
Ask the question again if you could. Can he win?
Can he win? And I get it, y'all. I understand. I'm not an idiot. I understand that postseason success has nothing to do with regular season accolades. I get that. I understand it, y'all. I'm just asking the question, can we really live in a world where Lamar Jackson gets another MVP, another first-team All-Pro, and doesn't get to a Super Bowl?
Nuno, your answer?
Yes, Canty.
Okay.
Only 1 or 2 ways that happens. Either after coming off of a Super Bowl, or more importantly, he's on a different team. I think.
Hold on. What do you mean? Coming off a Super Bowl?
I believe, because it is just regular folks who vote on this, I believe that they will hold whatever Lamar does in the regular season, as great as he can potentially be, they will hold it against him because of the lack of success he's had in the postseason.
But that's what I just said, Nuno.
And I'm saying
I just
yes.
like that he said regular folks voting for the MVP. It's the media. It's not like a random guy on the street.
But that's what I'm saying, Nuno.
So I said the only way he could win it with the Ravens is if he's coming off of a Super Bowl and on another team. Like if he goes to the Dolphins, whatever. Like
right. It doesn't matter. What I agree with him. If he goes to the Dolphins in a year, 2027, 2028 season, he wins the MVP and they lose in the first round of the playoffs, it doesn't matter. Because now what he's saying is, if you're that good where you can pull it off with 2 teams as an MVP, at some point you got to blame the other 52 and not him. That's what he's saying.
So so we're gonna go to the place of blaming the Baltimore Ravens?
I asked you a question that you would then asked another question off of, which is that what happens if the same thing that Lamar has always had, which is MVP caliber season, and not making it to the Super Bowl? What happens then? Not how he's perceived. What actually happens? Does that confirm to you?
So you're saying he can win an MVP in Baltimore and not get to a Super Bowl?
I'm saying yes, but what I'm asking, because they vote before, obviously, as you mentioned. But what I'm saying to you is, what then happens when you're getting the same result over and over and over again, and you don't have a contract extension? Because you haven't signed it yet, not because they don't want it. Then what? Then what happens? It's the same. You have the greatest individual quarterback with the lack of team success.
Is he the greatest individual quarterback? See, that's the place that I gotta go to. That's the place that I gotta go to.
I wouldn't take him over Mahomes. That's not what I'm saying.
I'm not going to throw around a great word, and you got all of these. He's not a great individual quarterback. If he was a third MVP, he's a great individual talent. He's a great individual talent, but in order to be a great quarterback,
right,
you got to get your team to the Super Bowl.
We're saying the same thing. I didn't know that's what you meant by that. I agree with you on that.
Listen, I understand it's semantics, but to me, the nuance in there is very important.
Understood.
Because we got to be careful in terms of how we characterize the word great. Like, I will call you a great individual talent, which Lamar is, no doubt. He's a great talent at the quarterback position. But when we start saying the great quarterbacks, like greatness is defined by me being at your best when your best is required, and that has not been Lamar Jackson in the playoffs. That has not been him.
I can tell you one place.
Great talent, elite quarterback, cool. I'm not going to call him a great quarterback.
One place that is always great.